million lights, they flicker there. A million hearts beat quicker there. No skies are gray on the great wide way, 'cause that's the Broadway melody.
Hi, thanks for clicking in. I'm Jason Crawford Samuelsui.
And I'm Patrick J. Golden.
And this is Backstage Banter. For this episode of Backstage Banter, we are going to be discussing Red Branch Theater Company's production of Evil Dead the Musical, with a book and lyrics by George Reinblatt, and music by Frank Cipolla, Melissa Morris, and George Reinblatt. Now, this particular production is directed by Jenny Mayle, with music direction by Aaron Broderick, set design by Ryan Haas, light design by Lynn Jocelyn, sound design by Seth Schwartz, costumes by Andrew Malone, and makeup and special effects by Hannah Fogler. Now, this musical, Evil Dead the Musical, is based on the 1981 film, which a lot of us are familiar with, of the same name, Evil Dead, written and directed by Sam Raimi, that gave us the complex talents of Mr. Bruce Campbell, who is many of us are also familiar with. This also led to two subsequent films, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, which, again, a lot of us are familiar with. So, let's talk about set design. What'd you think?
I thought it was very well thought out. It was definitely very detailed, and it was very good use of the space. And I have to say, it was very believable that this was the common area of the cabin in which it takes place.
Right, I'm going to have to agree. It was a very good set. I am familiar with Ryan Haas's work, and I'm always impressed, and this is no difference. He had very good levels. His color scheme was very good. You know, he had the blues, the cool colors, the earthy tones, and it worked very well to set the mood for this piece, and kudos to Ryan Haas for a job well done. And that takes us to lights and sound. Lights by Lynn Jocelyn and sounds by Seth Schwartz. I thought were very appropriate. I thought they too set the mood. I mean, this is a horror supernatural piece, as well as a campy comedy. And the lights and sounds, they did a very good job. Lynn Jocelyn and Seth Schwartz worked well together to set the appropriate mood. They blended in. They didn't really stand out, in a bad way, and just moved the story along and added value to this production.
I completely agree with that. There's really not much more I can say. Yeah, and that moves us on to costumes, actually,
yes,
by Andrew Malone. I have to say, each of the costumes fit each individual character's style perfectly, and even though they were modern day, they still somehow paid homage to all the characters in the film, all their costumes.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that, because especially Ash's costume that he chose for that. Ash had on the blue button-down, the khakis, everything that is iconic for this character, even down to the strap for his boomstick, as he called it, his rifle, his shotgun. But his costume was spot on, and all the actors looked very comfortable in their costumes and moved around nicely. So it was a very good job by Andrew Malone for costumes. And that takes us on to makeup and special effects. Now, this production, or this story, would really kind of fall flat without special effects and makeup. And Hannah Fogler did a bang-up job on both of these. Now, personally, I think this whole production, this whole show, would probably be better to see in a bigger venue when you're a little further away and this was more intimate. But even with that challenge, Fogler did a very good job with special effects and makeup, and did very good for live theater, because this is a very bloody show. You can get a little gory and there's blood spurting everywhere, but I think she did a bang-up job.
Absolutely. I mean, this show is gloriously gory. And it was also, I have to say, very clever use of masks for the Deadites, for the quick on-stage transformations.
Yeah.
And even the squibs for the gunshot wounds throughout the show were on point and perfectly placed.
Very clever, very clever. Very nice job by Hannah Fogler. And to proceed with production, we're going to talk about direction by Jenny Mayle. Now, this is a challenge to take on this show, because it is such an iconic, cultish kind of film that when it transitions to stage, some people might be a little weary. This transitions very nicely. And I think that's a large part due to Jenny Mayle, who had this fresh look at this iconic story, but still stayed true to the familiar. She had a good understanding of the story, but also understood that, a lot of people are going to know this story, and a lot of people love this story, as campy as it is. But she stayed true to it.
Yes, I have to say, any fan of the film really will appreciate her take on it. And also, you don't have to be a fan of the film to enjoy this show.
This is true. And Jenny Mail she seemed to have fun with this. She didn't take it too seriously. Took it serious enough for it to be a very good production, but she didn't take it too seriously. She took it with tongue-in-cheek, and all of it was good. So she had her own vision, but paid homage to the original, and her casting was spot on.
Yes.
She had impeccable casting. And that takes us to music direction by Aaron Broderick. Now, this ensemble is strong as it is. It's very strong vocally, acting-wise, dancing, everything. But as a music director, he got the harmonies there. That's hard for a cast to get, but it helps with a strong cast. But he got the harmonies down, and everything seemed to be on point musically with this production.
Yes, the band sounded fantastic, and you could tell he really took his time with this. I mean, he wanted to make sure the entire show sounded great, and it did.
It really did. And, it's again, just as Jenny Mail, as a director, had a challenge with it being an iconic piece, it's a movie, it's a film. And to add music to something like this can be very challenging, but Aaron Broderick did a very good job of tackling that challenge, and it ended up being a very good piece for him. And to go on with that, choreography. Jenny Mail was also the choreographer for this piece.
Oh.
And there were a lot of dance numbers in this piece, which you wouldn't think, it's Evil Dead if you're familiar with the film. But, I mean, the cast was well rehearsed, and, the numbers were tight. And I really think she did a good job. It's tough to take on two roles, especially two major roles for a musical. But Jenny, she did a very good job, and the choreography was very, very appropriate for this piece.
Yes.
And fun. It looked like everybody was having fun. And that segues into the performance aspects of the piece. Now, I'm going to start off with a few of the supporting characters, and no, they're supporting does not mean they're not important. Supporting characters of Peter Boyer, Cole Watts, and Sarah Luckadoo. Now, Peter Boyer plays a character of Jake. Now, this character, I believe, is a filler character. He's not in any of the original films, and he seemed to be out of place for me. But Peter Boyer did a fantastic job with this role. He gave 100%, and this is a completely new character for this story, but he gave his all and was very, very funny with this character. He did a really good job. He gave a strong performance.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree on the fact that it was a filler character, but I think we have to... A lot of people don't know, and we have to remember, this was a show written by theater students for class. So they knew their space, they knew the people they were working with, so I think there's a big set change or scene change that has to happen there, and they put that in there for that, but it just transitioned over onto the big stage when it came around. But I have to say about Mr. Boyer, his comedic timing was on point. He was a pleasure to watch.
Yes, he was. I mean, he was very funny with the role again, and like I said, it was a supporting role, but he gave it all and made it a very good character. Which also Cole Watts plays Ed, who was kind of a belittled boyfriend, who ends up coming to a very horrible end himself. And he has a number called Bit Part Demon, which pokes fun at all of these demons and deadites that are killed in this story. I mean, it's hundreds of them in like one movie alone, and very gory as well. Cutting heads off and shooting through torsos and what have you. Anyway, but he played the part very well. However, the number itself, Bit Part Demon, which was his big number, it kind of fell flat for me. Now, it was, later in the show, I think I think it opened the second act. Yeah, it opened the second act. But it just kind of fell flat for me. Just mainly because I think we had already had that first act with all the deadites coming out and everything, and all the makeup and everything. But he did a very good job as Ed. Like I said, I wish it would have been a little more with the number, but he did a good job overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that takes us on to Sarah Luckadoo. Her character was purely ensemble, but honestly, there's some audience interaction, and if it wasn't for her, none of it would happen. And she really gave her all, and she did sing with them and all. She has a very nice voice.
Yeah, she did. She did a good job rounding out the ensemble.
Yes.
And adding to the production. And that also takes us on to Scott's the part of Scott played by Danny Berto. And now whether it's the character or whether it was acting choices, I think Scott was a little much for me. But he's a perfect bro character, if you're familiar with that. Just the all-around guy's guy. But he did a very good job with the character. At times, he sounded very scripted. But, again, overall, did a very good job. Has a good voice. He took on the lower range for most of these songs, and I could hear it. And, he's a good dancer. So, I mean, he gave a very strong performance.
Yes. I have to say, I do agree that he does come on a bit strong. But I have to say, he's also very believable as the best friend of Ash. And you can tell he's very comfy on stage. He is no stranger to this whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, overall, very strong performance. And that takes us to the character of Linda, who is the love interest, played by Carson Elizabeth Gregory. And she did a very good job. She's very believable in this character. She has a very nice voice. She's very likable. And she did an all-around good job as the girlfriend character. Give a very strong performance.
Yes. When it comes to her, she again also has a very strong presence on stage. She is certainly no stranger. And also to go along with her talents, she just looks the part.
Yeah.
Like her style, just
very
her natural
comfortable.
Features. Yes.
You're very natural with this part.
Yes.
So. And that takes us to Angelisa Anderson, who takes on two roles in this production. She takes on the role of Shelley pretty much through the first act, and then Annie through the second act. Now, the character of Shelley, I wanted to shoot Shelley in the face. She really, really annoyed me. She's the ditzy girl that got picked up in the bar. Just a very all-around annoying character. But in the second act, Angelina plays Annie, who was like the scientist, more, I don't want to say smarter, but, she's the more serious character, and I liked it. So, overall, I think Angelina Anderson did a very good job, because I wanted to kill the first one, and I liked the second one. They were both very different characters, and she did well. She also has a nice voice, and, is a good dancer. She gave a very strong performance.
Yes. Her second character was much more in depth than the first one. Right. And I have to say, her transition from ditzy Shelley to domineering and dismissive Annie, just that alone was very impressive. Because like you said, they are two completely different characters. And it just adds credibility to her as a performer. She did great.
Yes, she did. She gave a very, very strong performance. And that takes us to Sarah Goldstein, who played Cheryl, the sister. And Sarah Goldstein was definitely one of the highlights of this production. She gave a brilliant performance. She had great facial features and mannerisms. She gave 100%, and she was a great comedian. She had that comedic timing down. She got that quirky comedy that comes along with Evil Dead.
Yes, she had me rolling in my seat. And to go along with that, I think she may have been the strongest female vocalist.
Yes, yes.
But to go back to her character, the one thing that makes her very interesting is she instigates to move the story along.
Yes,
so
her
that
character
really
does. Yes.
helps the comedy of it.
And she spent a lot of her time in a very confined space, and to work through that through pretty much an entire show. Kudos to Sarah Goldstein. She gave a very strong and a very good performance. Yes. So, and that takes us to last but not least, our anti-hero, who is Ash, played by Ben Stoll. Seeing this, I couldn't think of anyone better to have played this role. He looked the part. He took this character, who was a iconic character, Ash, with the boomstick. He took this character and made it his own somehow. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He made it his own and did not become, as I wrote in my review, he did not become a second-rate version of Bruce Campbell's genius. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see. He has a great voice. I think he had the best voice in the ensemble. But he carried the show. As the main character, he carried the show, and he did it flawlessly. So, major kudos to Ben Stoll for a well done performance.
Yes. And like you said, to go back, he did not do a second-rate version of Bruce Campbell.
Right.
He definitely made this part his own. I mean, he played it with a certain naivete and confidence that had its own quirks. And like you said, I could not think of anyone else better to play Ashley Slashley, the Boomstick Butcher.
And yeah, I mean, and he was very confident. He was very comfortable on stage. And it was a joy to watch. He was definitely also a highlight of the show as the main character. And I'm looking forward to seeing more work from Ben Stoll, because, I mean, he really took this part and he ran with it and did a bang-up job. He was spot on, and he was impeccable as this character. I mean, he was very dashing as his character as well. So, I mean, everything works for him in this role. So, as a final thought, you want to see this show. You really do. If you're familiar with the film, you're going to love the show. If you're not familiar with the film, you are still going to love the show. You need to get your tickets now. It runs through the 29th.
Yes, go see this show. And if you haven't seen the film, go see the show.
Right.
And after that, watch the movie.
Good. Now, I will say there is a parental advisory. There is some very strong language and some violence in this, so if you're thinking of taking the kiddies, just you might want to check it out first. So, Evil Dead the Musical is playing at Red Branch Theater Company, which is located at 9130 Red Branch Road in Columbia, Maryland, that is. And if you want tickets, you can give them a call at their box office at 410-220-6517. Or you can check them out online and get tickets at their website, which is Red Branch Theater Company. That's theater with an R-E. redbranchtheatercompany.com. And you can check out the written review that we have up on Backstage Baltimore at backstagebaltimore.wordpress.com. Leave us a message or leave a comment down below. Subscribe to us, give us a thumbs up. And thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Backstage Banter.
Until next time.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people, they smile when